Everybody can be seated. Let me forewarn you that there is some Marine Corps jargon in my speech today, so bear with me. Hoorah. Good morning. I just want to take a brief moment to thank President Salovey and Secretary Cruz for holding this ceremony, and Dean Sodi for recommending me to give today's remarks and affording me this opportunity to address you all. And I also want to thank all of the distinguished guests in attendance for their service to our country and for attending today's Veterans Ceremony. Thank you. It is a particular honor to be standing before you all this afternoon, seeing as my presence at this institution is an anomaly within itself. I grew up in Rochester, New York, in inner city America, a place not much different than New Haven. I was born into a home where no one had completed high school, and although it was a reality I had no hand in creating, it impacted my life nonetheless. The very reason I stand before you today as a senior and a combat veteran at 27 years old is because given the circumstances and conditions that I was born into, being here at 18 would have been close to impossible. However, in spite of the obstructive conditions that I had to confront growing up, I am here today, standing before you all. And I'm here because I've been blessed to experience a series of interventions in my life. One of those interventions was the United States Marine Corps. At only 18 years old, I would become a Marine Corps recruit, standing on the historic yellow footprints on Parris Island, South Carolina, preparing myself to walk through the gateway, declaring through these portals past prospects for America's finest fighting force, United States Marines. 3 months later, I would take my place in this fighting force as an avionics technician on CH-53 Deltas and Echoes, the platform that has been the backbone of Marine Corps aviation since Vietnam. And at 20 years old, I found myself as a young NCO who hadn't even been in the Fleet Marine Force for a year in southern Helmand Province, Afghanistan. But I would find more in Afghanistan than war. I would discover who I truly was as I experienced a defining moment that would change me forever. In the Marine Corps Air Wing, the most important position within any aviation maintenance shop of any squadron is the role of desk sergeant. This is the person who manages the operations of an entire shop and a shift of Marines. They're tasked with ensuring that the work being done on these multi-billion-dollar aircraft is being done correctly, and even more importantly, they're charged with the responsibility to decide whether or not an aircraft is safe for flight. In addition to these duties, as avionics Marines, we're also responsible for the management and employment of encryption technology that is used for the communication and navigation systems on board the aircraft that allow our pilots to communicate with ground forces. And we also oversee the operation of countermeasure systems, which alert the pilots and aircrew of any outstanding threats that may exist and protects them from such threats, keeping them and our fellow troops in transit safe. During the first of 2 deployments to Afghanistan, I was a junior corporal on my shift. There was another corporal who was senior to me, and he facilitated the duties of desk sergeant regularly. One particular day, he was assigned duties elsewhere, and so I was the only NCO on the shift. I made the assumption that my staff sergeant would be the desk sergeant that day. When I walked in the shop, my staff sergeant took the radio and the desk sergeant's log, and he handed them to me. As I took them from him, I could feel my palms get sweaty, I could feel my heart begin to race, and I could also feel my heart drop to the bottom of my stomach. He told me to follow him, and I knew exactly where we were going. We were going to the squadron meeting, And in the squadron meeting, you have the commanding officer, the executive officer, majors, captains, our warrant officer, staff NCOs, and other desk sergeants. I remember feeling extremely intimidated by the room itself. Being AVI, which is short for avionics, I was representing what's considered one of the big three shops in conjunction with propulsions and power plants and hydraulics and airframes. There was a podium in the very front of the meeting where the big three shops would convene before the primary controller who issued out the orders of the day. Since I was representing one of the big three shops, I should have been in front of the controller. But me not knowing that, because this is my first meeting, I'm standing in the back of the room. Then I can remember my staff sergeant pushing me forward to the front of the podium. This was a sink or swim moment. In that second, I had the choice to either swim and rise to meet the challenges of desk sergeant, proving that I deserved the blood stripe that I just received meritoriously months earlier, or sink and let down my shop, my unit, and most of all, my junior Marines who were looking up to me as their leader. I'm glad to let you know I swam. It was in that situation that I realized that the most important things the Marines have provided me with wasn't a way out of a bad neighborhood, gainful employment, or even the skilled trade of avionics. But it was an environment and a set of experiences that empowered me by helping me actually actualize what I was fully capable of. Now, as a veteran walking around campus, I can't help but think to myself how many more people who share my background and lived experiences have the same potential, but simply haven't been afforded the opportunities and experiences to cultivate who they truly are, and instead have become victims of their circumstances. To one day be able to help bridge this opportunity gap has become the driving force within my life. I've never felt more of an impetus to pursue this path than 3 days ago on election night, when many news outlets presented America with a narrative focusing on who voted and why, and ignoring the bigger question, who didn't vote, and what factors discouraged these Americans from fulfilling their most critical civic duty. Then all I had to do was reflect upon my own life and recall how the world I grew up in was shaped by a deficit of leadership, created by a lack of political will and an inability on behalf of politicians to evolve in order to meet the challenges of today. This has left a great divide between the electorate and our nation's leaders. Here is where I find my purpose and where I intend to sow my life's work: to advocate on behalf of those who left disempowered, felt their hands were incapable of shaping the country that they live in and loved just as much as any of us. With the will and courage I cultivated in the Marine Corps and the education and acumen I've acquired here, I intend to graduate from Yale in December and enter our world ready to do the work of mending this great divide. It's been thoughts like these here at Yale that have led me to resolving within myself that though I'm no longer adorned in the marpat of yesterday, my work for a better country and a better world isn't over. In fact, in many ways, it is only just beginning. And so taking off one uniform, I now prepare myself to put on another as I look to continue the work that I began the day I first stepped foot on those yellow footprints. The work of shifting the paradigm of possibilities beyond the excluding grasp of wealth and privilege and bringing it within the proximity of merit and effort, ensuring that opportunity expands its reach to anyone and everyone who seeks it, securing for all of us an equality of opportunity. This is the most essential promise of our country. This is the ideology we must make a reality, as it alone is one of our most fundamental beliefs. A belief that myself, many of you present here today, and all of those who join us in spirit believed to be worth fighting and even dying for. In the Marine Corps, we use the saying, once a Marine, always a Marine, to affirm our lifelong fraternal commitment to our fellow sisters and brothers in arms. Today, I stand before you to declare that that saying for me has become a pledge and has come to include a lifelong commitment to engaging in the struggle for the betterment of our society, our country, and our world. I ask everyone present today to join me in this pledge, Marine or not, active duty, veteran, civilian, to resolve to engage in the struggle in whatever capacity you are capable, so that not one life that has been lost in the name of this value or the countless other values that we hold dear be in vain. Let us put these principles into practice so that our fellow brothers and sisters who fought and died and what they fought and died for can truly come to life. Thank you all and happy Veterans Day.
Simplify from the stage.